What if I told you there are people living on rooftops surrounded by traffic, on islands smaller than a soccer field, or 5,000 meters above sea level, where breathing feels like drowning? In this episode, we go deep into the forgotten edges of our planet. We expose the tragedy of 200,000 residents living in a place not meant for humans to live. And that's just the beginning. From floating slums in Nigeria to homes frozen shut in Canada, this journey reveals what it really means to survive when the world looks away. This isn't about places, it's about people. Stay with us, it might just change the way you see the world. Number 1, Manila, life under bridges. Beneath the bridges of Manila lies a hidden world, one that most Filipinos pass by without ever looking down. We're not talking about narrow alleyways or cramped apartment blocks. No. We're talking about makeshift homes, patches of plywood, tarpaulin, and rusty sheet metal, wedged beneath massive concrete highways where nearly nothing was meant to live, except maybe rats and rust. Thousands of families live here. According to the latest 2025 estimate from the Philippine Statistics Authority, more than 20,000 people are currently residing in these underbridge communities across Metro Manila. 20,000. Imagine the population of a small town crammed into the shadows of overpasses, surviving on next to nothing. There is no clean water, no stable electricity, no toilets. Children bathe in murky canals, their skins stinging from pollution. The scent? A sharp mix of sewage, gasoline, and rotting food, thick enough to make your stomach turn. At night, the roar of traffic overhead never stops. Trucks rumble, horns blare. And yet, families try to sleep just feet below, on wooden planks that shake with every passing vehicle. But noise isn't the worst of it. During monsoon season, floodwaters rise fast. Within minutes, entire sections of these shanties are submerged, washing away clothes, furniture, sometimes even people. In 2023 alone, at least 11 people died in Manila due to floods impacting these high-risk, informal settlements. And it gets worse. Because they don't have legal addresses, most residents here can't access government services, no health insurance, no regular schooling, no identification. Children grow up without birth certificates, without records, without rights. Many start working before the age of 10, collecting plastic bottles, selling cigarettes, trapped in the very cycle of poverty their parents tried to escape. It's easy to ignore these people when they live in the in-betweens, not quite part of the city, not quite gone. They are the shadows beneath our progress, the byproduct of rapid urbanization with no safety net. You won't find their homes on a map, but they are very real. And that's the tragedy. They are not hidden because they're hard to see. They are hidden because we choose not to look. Number 2, Makoko, floating in waste. Imagine a floating city, except it's not a paradise. It's not Venice, it's Makoko. Just off the bustling coast of Lagos, Nigeria, lies a sprawling, waterlogged community often called the Venice of Poverty. But don't let that name fool you. There are no gondolas here, no romantic views. Just more than 200,000 people, men, women, and children, living in wooden shacks, balanced on stilts above thick, black, polluted water. This is not a place meant for humans, and yet it breathes with life. Makoko has existed for decades, growing alongside Lagos's rapid development. But while the city builds upward, glass towers, modern highways, Makoko sinks deeper into neglect. According to the United Nations Habitat Program, as of the year 2025, over 30% of residents still lack access to safe drinking water. Sanitation? Practically non-existent. Waste is dumped directly into the water, the same water where children swim, where fish are caught, where families wash their clothes and their bodies. You can smell Makoko before you see it. A mix of fish, fuel, smoke, and rot, burning your nose, lingering on your skin. And the noise? It's the sound of wooden paddles slapping the water, babies crying in the distance, and small generators humming all night, because there is no electricity grid here. Only wires, dangerously strung from pole to pole, sparking with risk. And yet, somehow people survive. Most families here rely on fishing to make a living. But here's the twist. there's less and less fish. Pollution from nearby industries and untreated sewage have poisoned the lagoon. According to data from Nigeria's Environmental Protection Agency, fish populations have dropped by more than 40% in the past 10 years. Add to that the growing presence of water taxis and illegal dredging operations, and the water becomes a battlefield, one where the poor always lose. And what about schools, clinics, dreams? They exist, but barely. A few floating classrooms bob on the edge of collapse. Medical help comes, if it comes at all, by canoe, and in all of this, the children grow up thinking this is normal. But here's the truth. It's not. Makoko is a place of resilience, yes, but it's also a reflection, a mirror of how development can leave entire communities behind, forgotten, invisible, left to float on water that's slowly dying. Number 3. Iceland. Island of crowds. It's hard to believe, but there's an island in the Caribbean so crowded you can walk across it in 2 minutes without ever losing sight of another person. Welcome to Santa Cruz del Islote, Colombia, a tiny dot in the sea, no bigger than a soccer field, just under 4,000 square meters, but home to more than 11,000 people. Yes, you heard that right, 11,000 souls packed into less than 1 acre of land. That makes it one of the most densely populated places on Earth. From the sky, the island looks like a patchwork of tin roofs stacked shoulder to shoulder with nowhere else to grow. Streets? There are none, just narrow walkways barely wide enough for 2 people to pass. Houses are stacked right next to each other, and most families live in spaces the size of a small bedroom. And yet, this island isn't a refugee camp or a temporary settlement, it's a community. A real, living, breathing community. But one that's reaching its breaking point. Let's talk about what's missing. First, trash management. There is no formal system for collecting or disposing of waste. Residents either burn it, polluting the air, or dump it into the ocean, adding to a growing environmental crisis. As of 2025, local conservation groups estimate that over 5 tons of waste are generated here every month, with more than half ending up directly in the sea. Second, electricity. The island gets only about 5 hours of power per day, usually in the evening. That's barely enough to light a bulb, charge a phone, or run a small fan in the tropical heat. Third, clean water. There is no natural fresh water source here. The Colombian Navy delivers water by boat every few days, filling tanks that often run dry before the next shipment arrives. Families ration every drop, using the same water to drink, cook, and bathe. So why do people live here? Well, the answer is strangely simple: no mosquitoes. Unlike the surrounding tropical coastlines, Santa Cruz del Islote has no standing water where mosquitoes can breed. In a region where mosquito-borne diseases like dengue and malaria are common, this made the island an attractive place to settle decades ago, and it kept growing. But today, what began as a safe haven has become a symbol of overpopulation and forgotten infrastructure. Number 4. La Rinconada, gold without air. Welcome to La Rinconada, Peru, the highest human settlement on Earth. Perched more than 5,100 meters above sea level, yes, that's higher than base camp at Mount Everest, this mining town isn't just remote, it's extreme. Up here, the air is so thin that every breath feels like a struggle. Oxygen levels drop by nearly 50% compared to sea level. Just walking a few steps feels like running a marathon. But this isn't a place of mountaintop peace or quiet beauty. This is a place where over 50,000 people live and work in brutal conditions, all chasing the same thing: gold. La Rinconada sits atop a frozen mountain rich with precious metal. For decades, it has lured men and women with the promise of fortune. But that promise? It's mostly a lie. Miners work under a system called cachorreo, where they labor unpaid for 30 straight days inside dark, freezing tunnels. On day 31, they're allowed to keep whatever gold they can carry out. The catch? Most leave with nothing. As of 2025, Peru remains the 6th largest gold producer in the world. But here in La Rinconada, the wealth doesn't trickle down. There are no banks, no paved roads, no running water, No sewage system. Electricity? Spotty at best. Supplied by diesel generators that often fail. The temperature regularly drops below 0 degrees Celsius. And the wind? It bites through clothing like broken glass. Sanitation is almost non-existent. Trash piles up. Human waste is tossed into makeshift ravines. Mercury from the gold extraction process contaminates both the soil and the streams. According to recent environmental studies, mercury levels in local water sources exceed safe limits by more than 300%. That means the very water people drink is laced with poison. Yet people stay. Why? Because they have nowhere else to go. Many of La Rinconada's residents are migrants, from the Andes, from impoverished towns, fleeing poverty only to find a harsher version of it here. Women often work as cooks or vendors, while others are trapped in cycles of exploitation and violence. And still, the mountain looms above them, silent, cold, indifferent. La Rinconada is not just a mining town. It's a mirror reflecting what happens when dreams of wealth collide with the absence of basic human rights. It's a gold rush built on broken backs and broken promises. But within this frozen hell, there is also resilience. People still laugh, still love, still hope. And that alone makes this story one the world cannot ignore. Number 5. Fort Erie, frozen inside. When most people picture Canada, they imagine comfort, heated homes, high-tech cities, and cozy winters by the fire. But in Fort Erie, reality freezes harder than the ground. Located in southern Ontario near the edge of Lake Erie, this small town is no stranger to cold. But in recent years, winters here have crossed the line, from uncomfortable to unlivable. During the brutal cold wave of early 2025, temperatures in Fort Erie plummeted below -30 degrees Celsius. That's nearly -22 degrees Fahrenheit, for several weeks straight. And when the lake effect winds picked up, gusting over 70 kilometers per hour, homes near the shoreline became sealed in ice. Literally. Entire houses frozen shut. Doors that wouldn't budge. Windows encased in solid frost for over a month. And it wasn't just the buildings. Life itself froze. Pipes burst. Heating systems failed. Roads became too dangerous to use. Grocery stores shut down temporarily. Some families were stuck indoors for days, relying on candles, canned food, and pure grit. According to the Canadian Disaster Resilience Agency, more than 900 homes in Fort Erie experienced severe infrastructure disruption during the winter of 2025, a record high. But this isn't just a weather story, it's a social story. Because while the snow fell equally on everyone, the damage did not. Those with money had generators, insulation, emergency heating. Those without were left to freeze. Many of the affected were elderly, low-income families, and people living in older homes with poor insulation. Some neighborhoods still use oil heating, which can run out fast and cost hundreds of Canadian dollars to refill. Money many simply do not have. And the hardest part? Most people here can't just pack up and leave. Housing across Canada has become increasingly unaffordable, and affordable rentals in urban centers are vanishing. For many residents of Fort Erie, this harsh, icy reality is not a choice. It's the only option. But through all of this, people endure. They wrap their homes in plastic, share heat with neighbors, and shovel snow from roofs just to keep them from collapsing. Because when there's no way out, you dig in. Fort Erie reminds us that even in a country known for comfort and safety, some communities are hanging on by a thread, and that thread is frozen stiff. This is not the Canada you see on postcards. This is the Canada that survives behind the frost-covered glass. Number 6, nail houses, homes that won't move. In the middle of a 4-lane highway in China, there stands a house. Not a ruin, not a monument, a real house, with laundry on the line and lights in the window, completely surrounded by traffic. This is what locals call a nail house, because, like a stubborn nail refusing to be hammered down, it sticks out in the face of unstoppable development. The story begins with land. In cities like Chongqing, Shanghai, and Guangzhou, Rapid urban expansion has swallowed entire neighborhoods. Developers offer compensation for demolition, but not every homeowner agrees to leave. Some refuse the offer, others simply refuse to be erased. And so, the city builds around them. As of 2025, there are still over 100 active nail houses recorded across mainland China, according to data from the China Urban Planning Association. Many belong to elderly residents who have lived in their homes for decades, watching as their quiet streets turned into concrete jungles. Now their homes are boxed in by highways, parking lots, shopping malls, or worse, construction zones. The conditions? Let's just say, this is not peaceful resistance. Imagine waking up every morning to the sound of trucks speeding past just meters from your window, the air thick with dust, horns blaring, the ground shaking beneath your feet. It's not just inconvenient, it's dangerous. Air pollution in these zones often exceeds national safety standards by over 120%. And with no sidewalks, no neighbors, and no access to basic services, these homes become islands, isolated, forgotten, trapped between past and progress. But these homes, and the people inside them, are more than just curiosities on social media. They are symbols. Symbols of personal defiance in the face of a system that often values land more than lives. And for many of these residents, staying isn't about greed or stubbornness. It's about roots, identity, dignity. Because how do you put a price on a lifetime of memories? Nail houses force us to ask a difficult question. In the race for modernity, who gets left behind? And who gets to decide when a home stops being a home? Number 7. Himba, survival in dust. Somewhere in the searing stillness of northern Namibia, where the land blurs into dust and the horizon sways in heat, there lives a people who have mastered the art of survival, not with machines or modern comforts, but with memory, instinct, and tradition. This is the homeland of the Himba, one of Africa's last truly semi-nomadic tribes. They live where few would choose to, in the Kunene region along Namibia's northwestern border. This is a land of blistering heat, cracked soil, and sun that punishes everything it touches. Rain? It comes maybe once or twice a year, and when it does, it vanishes just as fast. According to a 2025 report from the Namibian Meteorological Institute, this region now receives less than 180 millimeters of rain annually, placing it among the driest inhabited areas on Earth. There is no electricity, no running water, no internet. The Himba build their homes using a mix of mud, dung, and straw. Domed huts that stay cool during the day and hold warmth at night. They cook over open fires, gather herbs for medicine, and raise cattle, which are both currency and lifeline. But what makes the Himba stand out most is their skin. The women cover their bodies in a rich, burnt orange paste called ochize, a blend of butterfat and red ochre soil. This is no mere cosmetic, it protects their skin from the harsh sun and relentless insects. But more than that, it's a symbol of identity, a connection to the earth, to their ancestors, to each other. There's no asphalt here, no supermarkets, no hospitals, and yet, somehow, life continues. Children laugh, elders teach, songs rise with the smoke. In a world that moves faster by the second, the Himba live at the pace of firewood and footsteps. Still, the challenges are growing. Climate change has made droughts more frequent and severe. Many families now walk over 10 kilometers daily just to find drinkable water. Government aid reaches these areas, but rarely enough. In 2025, over 60% of Himba villages reported food insecurity, according to Namibia's Rural Development Council. And yet, they endure, not because they have the most, but because they've learned to need the least. The Himba teach us something most of the world has forgotten, that strength doesn't always look like steel and concrete. Sometimes, it looks like red earth smeared gently on skin, and a quiet people, standing tall in the middle of nowhere. Around the world, people live in places most of us couldn't survive a single night. Under bridges where the sound of traffic never sleeps. On poisoned waters thick with waste. On islands so crowded, there's no space left to dream. in towns frozen solid by nature's fury, on mountain peaks where the air is too thin to breathe, in homes stranded in the middle of highways or tucked deep in deserts where rain may never come. But these aren't just places on a map. They are human stories, raw, urgent, and real. Stories of mothers boiling rainwater for their children, of fathers diving for fish in toxic lagoons, of children growing up surrounded not by playgrounds but by concrete, metal, and silence. Stories of survival without comfort, resilience without reward, and dignity without recognition. What's truly haunting isn't just the environment. It's the way we've grown used to it. How poverty, displacement, and struggle have become background noise. Things we scroll past, things we don't want to see. Urban growth, climate collapse, systemic neglect. They've drawn invisible borders around who gets safety and who gets forgotten. But even in these margins of humanity, people still laugh. They still love. They still build. Because hope is stubborn, and so is the will to live. The tragedy isn't just that they live in places no human should have to. The tragedy is that we've allowed that to seem normal, acceptable, as long as it's not happening to us. So maybe it's time we look again, more closely, more honestly, because once you've seen what we've seen, you can't unsee it. If this story moved you, even just a little, let it move someone else. Leave a comment, start a conversation, and if you're ready to see more of the world that hides beneath the headlines, subscribe to NVL Travel Documentary. We're just getting started. Thank you for watching, and remember, the world is not just what we see, it's also what we choose to see and what we choose not to ignore.